Powered by Fantasyverse. Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
What's going on, everyone? It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are tuned in for a very special edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast. I'm also Nerd Initiative Editor-in-Chief. To my left, your middle at home, he is the head of NI Wrestling, but he is also one of our featured editors on the new Comic Book Day reviews that you see every Wednesday dropping. Give a warm welcome to the one and only Rich.
That is right, and I am happy to be here and excited to talk about some really interesting stuff.
Yes, and down to the right of the screen, it's in his contract. He has to do his own intro.
Well, gee, it's a pleasure to be here. You coming at you live and direct straight from the ODPH studios. My name's Off the Cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative's pop culture connoisseur. Sorry, I took a trip through Riverdale on my way here, but you know what, everybody? It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And we have a special guest joining us. You know her as one half of the dynamic duo of Giraffes and Dialogue, bringing you that pop culture knowledge that you need to know each and every week for 5 years now and counting. So happy anniversary on that. But if we are going to Twilight City, we have to go get the mayor of Twilight City herself. Please give a warm welcome to the one and only Lauren from Hops Geeks News. Lauren, what is going on?
Not much. I'm very excited to be here. Minor Threats, the universe was one of the first comics I got to cover for Nerd Initiative, and I fell in love more and more with every arc that comes out, and this Archie run is already so much fun, and what we've already heard, I cannot wait for issue 2, so I'm so excited to be here.
There's a lot to be excited about because at the comic shops tomorrow, as we're recording, August 6th, there is a crossover that's coming that can honestly just be described as murder, milkshake, and magic, but it is so much more than that. When you have a creative team that knows how to bring out the best in characters such as Bloodshot, Captain America, Avengers, and Deadpool, we are very fortunate to have the creative team behind Archie versus Minor Threats joining us. So please give a warm welcome to writer TIMMY HEAGUE and artist Scott Koblish. Guys, what is going on?
Hello.
Hey, thanks so much for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. Like we say, we are big Minor Threats fans here at Nerd Initiative. So honestly, this crossover, there's a lot of questions to be had with it, but I think the first one is, how did this come to be?
Timmy, give us the scoop.
The secret origin. So I've been friends and hanging out with Pat and Jordan for a while, and one of the hats I wear is also doing all things Minor Threats, like marketing and teaming up with Dark Horse to just amplify the series as much as possible. And so with that being said, like I'm always hanging out with Pat and Jordan, and whether we're getting food or just talking comics, like it's a blast. And we did a signing like about a year ago, and after it we were hanging out and we're talking about the future of Minor Threats and what the next 6 months to a year look like. And we were just spitballing crazy ideas of, what about a crossover? And, immediately we're like, well, what's the craziest crossover we could come up with and like no one would see coming? And Archie was immediately, just mentioned. And I didn't put my name in, hat in the, name in the hat for, to write it. But Pat and Jordan, and they were asking, well, who should we have write it with us? They just pointed at me. For a couple of years, there was no way I could say no. My eyes lit up, and it's such a fun year now working with everybody. And Scott here was absolutely my first choice of a dream artist to collaborate with on this project. His style just is so perfect for this book, and the way he can just craft unique styles for both characters of both properties. This cross, just Scott's. I could the whole podcast free. Yeah, well, now.
Very sweet.
Yeah, because like I say, just seeing this on paper definitely threw, I think, everybody off, at first glance, because you don't think about these two worlds colliding. And then to see it now come to fruition, I mean, there's a lot going on here.
It's true. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, so, Yeah, they're two major universes with their own distinct styles, and that was the challenge for me. That I was like, well, let me see if I can do this. And we've even got in the third issue. There's like a mix and match, like a Freaky Friday kind of thing going on. So it's really exciting. It's really fun to do. Just the mixture of styles and see what we can kind of do. Because I wanted to try and make sure that the Archie stuff looked exactly like the Archie comics that everybody reads on the newsstand or the grocery store and things like that. And then I wanted to make sure that the Minor Threats stuff stayed exactly the way that the Minor Threats universe is, because I didn't want to shortchange them either. So like I wanted to make sure that everybody got their say, but it's kind of a little bit like peanut butter and anchovies. Um, on purpose, we wanted to make it so that it's just as thrilling and exciting magic trick as we can possibly make it. So
Well, and I think you nailed the art going one way or the other. And I'm actually going to jump ahead and ask a question I wasn't intending to until later, because you just gave us such a perfect segue. But how was your mindset in switching from that Archie art to the Minor Threats art? Like, did you really have to like change how you were like in the zone and drawing these?
yeah, well, the Minor Threats stuff is pretty scratchy and pretty exciting. Like it's got like a real energy to it. The stuff that Scott Hampton does. I think I got that right. And anyway, Scott, the
Hepburn,
artist on
Scott Hepburn.
Hepburn. I'm sorry, yeah, Hepburn. I don't know why I got that wrong. So Scott Hepburn is doing an amazing job on it, and but it's got a lot of energy and a lot of flow and a lot of like a lot of rough edges, which I thought were really interesting, and I really liked the energy that he was bringing to everything. And then the Archie stuff is. Well, Archie has like an 80-year history at this point of being kind of like they have a pattern, like the eyes are all drawn in a particular way, the noses are all drawn in a particular way, the hair and things like that. And I worked pretty hard with the folks over at Archie to try and make sure that I got as close as I could to everything. A lot of back and forth with their art director there, and it's been really exciting and really thrilling to kind of be able to get to do some of the Archie stuff, because that's one of the properties that I haven't had a lot of experience with before. When I started at Marvel, they were doing the Archie and Punisher crossover.
Yep.
And I thought that was really exciting to see. I was like, it was pretty neat to see that come through the office there. And it just seemed like such a crazy concept that when Timmy suggested this for me to do, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try and make sure that I get all the Archie stuff drawn right, and I get all the Minor Threats stuff drawn right, and then maybe we can just jam it together and see what happens. A lot of the work that I've done is panel structure is for the Archie stuff is very strict and very specific, and the Minor Threat stuff less so. Like it's a little more exciting panel kind of thing, panel construction. So I've been trying to, even down to that sort of stuff, I've been trying to make sure that things get done in a way that everybody kind of like you get the best of both worlds, like so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can see it in that panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can see even in those pages there, like the first page is kind of a mixture of both. So you've got the little circle panels that Archie kind of does, but then you've got the kind of rough hewn of the bus and the town that they're Redport that they're even going into, and then you can see in the middle page, that's the Sabrina and the Teenage Witch kind of stuff. So it's a very specific kind of like block pattern, and you can see the borders are all white, and we spent a lot of time just trying to figure out how to make sure that everybody felt comfortable in these worlds before we mixed them all together and blew everything apart, so.
Absolutely, yeah. So now that we have a little bit more on the art, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Let's dive in for the story portion of this. In a nutshell, what is the story all about?
Give us the
Well, it's
download there,
about
Timmy.
love. No, so he hates magic. It's been alluded in the Minor Threats core titles, and there's something there why she hates magic. And Pat and Jordan, they left that to be a lingering storyline for later. And when we were crafting this crossover and plotting it, we decided, we had to throw Sabrina the Teenage Witch in. And I'd been, personally been wanting to write an awesome epic of Sabrina for a while. And my Archie stuff I've thrown in, here and there, and, and the digest classic stuff, real minimal. But she's my favorite, mystical witch type character in all of comicdom. So, I was really hungry to have her be a part of this crossover. And I wanted her, with magic to be that catalyst of, okay, so how can we connect her and Frankie's hatred for magic? And from that came the creation of a villain called TaP, who's this magic junkie who looks like a stage magician. And he has ties to Frankie's past, her childhood. And there's a mystical, all-powerful artifact called the Five Fingers of Merlin that, in classic Archie Comics wholesome fashion, Sabrina the Teenage Witch wants, because she gets her hands on it, she can go to the Witches and Warlock Ball with whatever date she chooses, which is a human, of course, aka Harvey Kinkle. And so you got this wholesome setup, and she needs to acquire City. So she, her transportation was originally going to be a magic troll who deals in magic. He bails and seems to be a stowaway on a Riverdale field trip to Twilight City to the Natural History Museum. And of course, it all goes terribly wrong. And when they enter in Twilight City, their welcome is not a warm welcome at all. And it's just from then on, it's just Archie and the gang being in a city they have no right to be in.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So, as dreamy as Harvey is, the question is, what's it like jumping into the universe of Minor Threats? What was the biggest challenge, trying to keep these Archie characters to their core as much as you possibly can? Because trust me, somebody's got to turn sideways. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's actually right there. The whole part of the story too is you have this magic angle of Sabrina and Frankie and Frankie's origin, childhood, but for Archie, the whole point of the story is, what if Archie broke bad? And in a way where it makes sense, it's organic, and also is very authentic to the Minor Threats universe, but also hilarious and just something that shouldn't exist, but it does. And I'd like to think we did an all right of making it feel organic and real. And Archie gets a little taste of crime and being the bad boy, and his motivations are classic Archie in the sense Betty and Veronica are looking at Reggie in a new way. He's feeling like he's looking like a square, and it's really getting to him. And here he is now being thrown into just mayhem and blood and magic. And is Archie going to embrace it, or is Archie going to stay the guy who is now being called a square? Is he going to stay true to his pure heart, or is he going to dabble in something that sees in front of him and Frankie Fullest playtime?
Yeah, and Frankie has the addition of for her, she's been playing this evil. She's been playing up this evil thing. So for the first trade and the second trade and then the third trade, she's continuing to sort of go deeper and deeper into a dark place. And this stuff falls in between the first trade and the second trade of Minor Threats. So it helps to fill in some of the blanks in between the first trade and the second trade as to what she's up to, where she's going with everything, and some of her motivation as she goes forward, So, if you had a situation where your life had been just unrelenting hits to the way that you feel about yourself and the way that you interact with all your peers, if you had that and then suddenly had everything flipped around so that everything was perfect, but you had this nagging in the back of your head about what it is that and where you're going and stuff like that. It really focuses a lot on her angle as well as Archie's angle, And I think it actually ties in really well to the two properties, because the Archie stuff, actually there's a lot of time that we've spent trying to figure out how to make it so that Archie has a good arc, and also the same thing for everybody in Twilight City there too. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that actually ties right into our next question. So, Timmy, you did the script with Jordan Bloom and Patton Oswalt, who have been on from the get-go. You know, they created this universe. So how much back and forth, because you've written Archie before, and obviously they've been writing Frankie since, you know, day one. So how much back and forth was there in writing the script? And was there more of like a, well, we need more Archie, we need more Frankie? Like, how did that all collab?
You know, I was very fortunate to like write these characters with their creators. You know, I'm like, me and like Archie, like I've gotten it down to the point where it all feels supernatural. And like when I'm writing Archie and the gang, it's like I'm hanging out with my best friends. And then now here I am writing that with two of my real life best friends and their creations. And like anytime like I'd write a scene with dialogue of Frankie and Scalpel, or, you know, like it would be like this moment where like I got this because I have read all these books, you know, 3-4 times over, but also like I am literally writing it with, you know, the people that created them. So like there was that like feeling of, oh wow, I don't want to mess up these people's creations that I respect and love so much, but then also, well, hey, I also have their support and they can help me do it, and, you know, the best of, you know, their ability. And I'm very thankful for it, because like there's parts where I wrote with these characters where they swooped in and, you know, just made it even more authentic to the characters that they've written for now for the last 3-4 years. And the other cool thing too is like Patton and Jordan would also like add their comedic talents to like some of the Archie scenes, and have given it just this fun, you know, vibe that I'm very thankful to be a part of and contribute to. And yeah, it's having like, it's like, for me, it's like being part of like a comedic comic book writing Justice League, where like we're all just riffing off each other and just making, you know, jokes, and how can we make it better, how can we make it more, you know, just make sense, and just, you know, punchline after punchline. And it's a blast. Like I really feel like creatively on the writing side, we've done a Archie and the gang that is very authentic to all fans of Archie. Like we've created something that's got like, you know, something for the classic Archie fans, the modern Wade era fans, even Archie horror as the series progresses. But also I feel like it's unique as well. Like I'm absolutely in love with Scott's designs for these Archie characters. Like they feel vintage, they feel timely, but they also have like this modern spin to it as well. And that, plus just writing, you know, what I think are some of the best original characters to come in comics. Like Frankie Folis is such an awesome character. I love writing her, especially like as this, like I kind of call it, like, to the Minor Threats fans, this is volume like 1.5, right? And like what's like, to add what Scott said about Frankie, like after the events of volume 1, she's now the queenpin of crime in Redport, the worst part of Twilight City, but she's also dealing with all this trauma of like just what she went through to get there, like, you know, murdering Insomniac, and just, you know, dealing with everything with Stickman and the repercussions of it all. And so you got that trauma plus the worst kind of trauma, childhood trauma. And so like you got that added to each other. And now you have in front of her Archie and the gang, like your classic Americana, innocent teenagers. And so you have her looking to what the other, you know, the grass is green on the other side, right? You now see her looking at these teenagers who have everything that she never had. And now there's Archie and the gang looking at these characters that are the complete opposite of what comes in Riverdale. You know, you got blood and just murder and money and crime. And it's just, I'm very thankful to say I think we've done an okay job of pulling off having these two characters be on the same page, and it works. It shouldn't, but it works. And yeah, like by the end of the day, you want to create something with an Archie crossover that's new, original, but kind of in the same vein as Archie Punisher, where it's just ridiculous. And yeah, to have this be something that's like integral to the Minor Threats like core universe and like the storyline too, that just makes it all the better for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, you see how that universe is blown up right now too.
Yep.
And especially bringing over someone as wholesome as Archie, when you're sitting there kicking around ideas with Patton and Jordan, was there ever an idea that Archie, the publisher there, was like, no, you cannot do this, like under any circumstance? Because as he's getting into his Breaking Bad era, I mean, there's got to be something that you want to go, you want to push how far the line can go. Was there an idea like you wanted to do that they were like, absolutely not?
The thing that immediately comes to mind, which in the end turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it made it so much funnier, is all the craft root beer talk, all the scenes of Archie and the gang holding root beers, like blatantly in your face, like that really became a thing because it's like, well, are they going to be teenagers trying to sneak beer? Like Reggie, is he going to try and, get like a racket going with, underage drinking? And Archie was like, no, we're not going to have the characters hold alcohol. And that just kind of turned into, okay, well, let's use that now to make just something even funnier and more ridiculous because, just seeing someone like Frankie punch someone to death in the same panel as, Reggie drinking a root beer is just too good. It's great.
It was amazing to just see the contrast, and yet it still blended so beautifully well.
So my question's for both of you, and now I'm gonna. This is always the on-spot question because it's like picking one of your children at this point in juncture. Because I want to know what is each of your favorite characters to work on during this, whether it's Scott with the art or Timmy for you to write.
Interesting, huh? Well, let me think. So. Yeah, let me think. Timmy, throw out.
Oh gosh. Like every issue kind of has like its own, for me, like highlight. In issue 1 for sure, it's Sabrina, because I really got to like give my vision of what I'd been wanting to do for Sabrina the Teenage Witch in comics for a while. But yeah, I also had a lot of fun like writing Top Hat, the original villain to the crossover, just having something that ends up having connection and not just Sabrina but Frankie and her origin was just so thrilling. And also what that character does next, writing that kind of just felt really exhilarating. But Jughead and Barfly are a thing in issue 2, and that writing that is definitely one of the big highlights. Barfly just is so fun at a character that speaks in just, sequential art, the panels, the movements, the mannerisms, the fun automatopoeia. Like Barfly is just such a blast who, for a character called Shit Eater, that's his legal Christian name. He just works as an Archie character in a way.
He's innocent. Like, it makes sense. He
just works. Yeah.
He's baby. He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's like, we really upped the ante, like for this book, like in the sense of like it being a comic book, like I'm not just trying to, again, just compliment Scott Koblish to death here, but like, I really feel like this is just like a sequential art enthusiast's like ideal book with the way it's drawn. But like, I take this book sometimes with like the thought of not just is it that, but this is just kind of like a love letter to comic books in general, like beyond Archie, beyond Minor Threats. Like in issue 2, there's this insane panel where we homage Spider-Man No More, but it's Barfly Shit Eater, and it's just being able to write that and see that come to life is just the coolest. Like, what? Like Barfly doing Spider-Man No More? It's sick as hell. I love it.
Yeah, and as far as the thing that I was thinking about, the reason I kind of got a little tripped up is about the favorite characters, because I've been doing these deep dives on pretty much everybody, because everybody gets a moment to shine. Like the great thing about it is that there's a whole bunch of really great Betty stuff in there. There's a whole bunch of really great Veronica stuff. There's a whole bunch of really great Reggie and Jughead and the Josie and the Pussycats and Sabrina. Like, we really spent a lot of time just trying to make sure that everybody gets their moment, their little character arc, their little bits in there. Like, and even the third issue, like I've been really surprised that Mary the Multi-Monster is like my favorite character.
I love her.
She's awesome in it. And so is Krablooey. So like it's just it's really cool. I just really enjoyed like every single character that's in this, and then like making sure that they have their moment to shine, and making sure that everybody kind of gets like where they are and what's happening to them. There's a great panel in issue 1 that I was super happy about nailing, because it's essentially like a panel where we establish where Archie's at at the beginning of all this. And I think the dialogue, correct me if I'm wrong, Timmy, the dialogue is like, what does he say? It's like, when did being good become out of fashion?
Become
You
so
know?
hard or confusing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, but it was like more, it was like, when did it become out of fashion? Because a lot of people think about Archie as something that's from a bygone age, you know what I mean? And I thought that the most important thing is to sort of establish him as having a bit of a crisis in this moment where, like, everybody, it seems, in the world is more than willing to be a little villainous, with their time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like this is the time period right now. It's like everybody's out for themselves in politics and in music and in art, and it really just feels like a moment where Archie's saying, what is going on? Like, there's a value to being a good person, and how do I fit into this world where everybody's on the make, like the president's on the make, everybody's on the make, like they're out to get everything that they possibly can at the moment. And Archie has to sit there and say, what do I want to do? And when he does break bad, there's a great resolution for it. So, like, it's just important that panel for me, like, meant a lot. Like, it was a good way to, like, contrast, just where they were, all the characters, where they're going, and where we are as a community and as a country right now. So anyway, it was just it's a lot to put on one panel, but that's the kind of stuff that I think about all day long, so.
It's probably my favorite page in the first issue. Like, that was a page that I definitely look at as, like, just the brilliance of, like, how fun collaborating with other creators can be, because that's a page I set up in scripting. Pat and Jordan teed it up and just amplified it and tweaked it. And then, like every page, like, we get an email of Scott's work, it turns out 20 times better than what we ever thought it could look like. Like, there's in that panel on that page, there's just so much going on even behind Archie that amplifies it, like just the shadow work and, like, the destruction of the Riverdale school bus. Like, it just hits, and it like Scott said, it became something just way more meta and, like, out there than just beyond Archie, contemplating the things around him, but just kind of like a commentary on just so much more. And yeah, I'm really proud of that page, and I'm really thankful for, like, this whole creative process for me, because this was my first 4-issue miniseries, and, like, it was like there was a moment where I realized, wow, my first 4-issue miniseries is not just a comic book crossover, but it's a comic book crossover that has pretty, like, two big diverse cast of characters on each side. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of Archie characters, a lot of Minor Threats characters. Like, we just mentioned Mary the Multi-Monster and Crab Louie from the first Minor Threats spinoff, The Alternates, which I really think is a criminally underrated book. I love that book so much. And so writing those two characters has been a blast. But yeah, I went into this, like, I went in this as a writer, hadn't done a 4-issue miniseries before, and now I've come out of it as not just a guy who's written one, but I like to think I've become a way better writer because I've had just the mentorship of Jordan Patton and collaborating with a guy like Scott here. And yeah, I'm really thankful for it all. Like, this, I almost don't want all this to end, if that makes sense. Like, it's just been such, like, kind of a defining moment now in my comic book journey that, like, yeah, it's just, this is a special book to me, and I hope it's just even just a fragment of specialness when people.
No, you can definitely tell. Like I say, I can't wait for readers to check this out tomorrow on New Comic Book Day, because yeah, you can definitely tell the excitement you're both having with this book, and it just it screams of how much fun, even though the more serious tones are going down with it. So that's something you rarely find in comics these days. And
now, Scott, you actually already touched on this a bit, but with these books, especially Barfly, Because that one I really fell in love with, just like all the stuff going on in the background, and it made me stop and read every Minor Threats book and look all around for all the Easter eggs and all the details as well. So how much of that is scripted and how much do you get to add on your own? I know like Timmy already praised you with how much you do add and how much better it is, but were there any specific things that you're like, oh, I'm going to add this that wasn't discussed before?
It's funny, like I'll sit there and I'll sit with the script, and then like I'll do my layouts basically, and then when I get to the actual page, I'll read the script again, and then I'll do some thinking about it. Like so, like I'll set up the page, and then I'll sleep on it, and the next day, if something else pops up, I'll go, oh, okay, maybe I can add this or move this around and make this a little more clear, or take an extra beat for something. And there was a moment where there's a ventriloquist puppet in here, because it wouldn't be a perfectly crazy book without a ventriloquist puppet somewhere in there. And the ventriloquist puppet, I had done a whole bunch of research on ventriloquist puppets, and the real heyday for ventriloquist puppets was like the 1920s, and they're terrifying. They look horrible. And there's something about those puppets. It's kind of like if you've ever been on the Small World ride in Disney, there's something underneath it that like makes it like I don't know if it's an uncanny valley thing or something. There's something underneath it that makes it just a little bit horrifying. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, I'll draw the ventriloquist puppet as kind of horrifying, really. And then the more I thought about that was because it's a puppet that's tied in with Frankie. I was like, well, this is what Frankie's wrestling with, is this horrible part of her own personality, and this nice spot that she's wound up in. And the more I did it, the more I would like sit there, and these little things would happen. Like I drew a little scene with Frankie like upside down, and I had like a little bit of room in the bottom of the panel that was just negative space that I didn't want. I didn't like it. And so I just put like the puppet just like sort of crept in there. Do you know what I mean? And I just kind of like drew it in, and I was like, oh, that makes it way better, because then it's like the puppet is there judging her almost,
Right.
You know, like it's in there, and it's not in the script that the puppet is in that panel. And even the panel I don't think is in the script. So I just like, it's one of those things that like it started to come on, it started to have a life of its own almost, you know what I mean? Like I would be sitting there and I'd be like, you know, I'd have this, like I said, this little blank area, and I was like, I'll draw the puppet in there. And
Like
and
a
it
horror
made it
story.
like, yeah, and it made it so that like I think it helps out these little things, but it's also, when I look back at the script, I was like, yeah, the puppet's not supposed to be great, like a happy thing. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like even where like I had subconsciously like absorbed, you know, the fact that the puppet is not a great thing, but then kind of played it up later, and then it sort of balances off of itself. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a whole bunch of things. I can't wait to set that puppet on fire, because that puppet's going to be set on fire at some point. So,
And
you know.
and you won't see who sets the puppet on fire. You won't see it coming.
You won't. Yeah, you'll have no. Yeah, when you actually see it, like it's one of those things that's so natural in the script, but it's one of those things where if we told you that was what was going to happen in issue 3 at the beginning of issue 1, you would just be like, I don't know how you get there, but it was a perfect moment. I was like, this is great. So.
Well, and I love that with Frankie, because her superpowers, you know, creating these weapon toys, and like the ventriloquist dummy is a toy, but they're also creepy as all hell.
Yeah,
So
they
I feel
really
like it's
are.
like a parallel to her superpowers. So
Because their mouths go way bigger than you normally would think, and the fact that it's like the jaw sort of like decouples, like it's just this
dislocates.
really, yeah, dislocates. You know what I mean? It really becomes like a really interesting thing to play around with. Like even there's something that happens to the ventriloquist puppet after it's set on fire that I'm like trying to figure out how
Even
horrible I
scarier.
can go with it. You know what I mean? So
That's
you
amazing.
know,
And what
yeah.
what's
So-
what's wild is like the puppets that came from like an idea I had for the final issue. That was like the 3-page moment. No spoilers, but like it's worked itself backward now into like this awesome creepy thing that has like depth. Like that's why I love working with Scott, because like the puppet's not in the panel, but now it is. And it has so much more meaning, and it's this duality of like Frankie's, being judged by the puppet, and it's Frankie's dark side personified, and it works. But yeah, this comic's a great read for people that want to see weird puppet stuff at the
yeah,
end.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're into weird puppet stuff, this is the comic book for you.
Yeah.
There's your
Yeah.
tagline.
Yeah. Issue 3 just becomes so much more bonkers. Like we do something in the story that's just we spent a lot of time crafting that, like issue 3 especially. We set up a lot that's not been done before in an Archie crossover. I mean, there's a lot in this crossover that hasn't been done with Archie Comics, but it's really worlds collide in a way that just is just why crossovers exist.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where, like, when we did it, I was like, or when I would get the script, I would go, well, of course, like, and then I'm like, well, hasn't this been done before? And then I'm like, this hasn't been done before. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I don't know that any of this stuff in issue 3, especially, has been done in any of the Archie books at all. Maybe a little bit of the horror kind of books, but it works out great. It works out so well that it's just you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's of course where it went. But if of course you're like, this didn't
And-
exist like an hour ago, like you know.
And like
So,
I could make the joke to you that issue 3 has Watchmen references. And you're like, he's
Yeah, it
obviously
does.
joking. There's no way an Archie comic crossover would involve Watchmen. And I'm not joking. It's absolutely a thing. It's bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm debating whether or not that. Oh, I guess I can't put the penis in there.
No,
But,
no.
but it when you read it, there's an implied frontal nudity, but so but there isn't actually any. You know what I mean? You won't. You'll be spared, but the Watchmen reference is definitely in there. So.
What's the point if we can't push the envelope?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe I'll draw it in the original art and then just take it out when I send the page in.
Yeah, we'll take the action for you. It's not a problem. Now,
Yeah.
That's a really good segue. The fact that we are trying to push the limits there. Timmy, you've written Archie as a standalone, and knowing how classic these characters are, what is it that keeps them around, and what is it that people should kind of maybe know about Archie before jumping into this book or coming into any of your other stuff that you've written?
All right, we're gonna get real cheesy. We're gonna get real wholesome real quick. All right, hold on to your butts.
I mean, it's Archie.
So
You gotta go wholesome.
Yeah, that's right. That was the voice I wanted. Thank you.
No problem.
Which great intro, by the way. So yeah, so like I was doing a digest with one of my collaborators, artist Bill Galvin, who is an Archie regular. And one night we were doing a phone call where we're workshopping future digest ideas, just classic Riverdale stuff. And he told me something that has always stuck with me, that he said the core like Archie story, the core just Archie comics is Riverdale is a town where you can always find a friend, no matter who you are, no matter what you are. And that friend is called Archie Andrews. And that just wholesome cheeseball line really stuck with me. And I even think that even the DNA of this crossover, it's there because like that's the type of person Archie is. And now he's been thrown into this world opposite Frankie Folis. And now she's got all her stuff to work out. And now she's got this guy in front of her, this teenage kid that can be the friend that she needs. But she's so messed up with everything she's dealing with from the events of Volume 1, her childhood trauma, that she's kind of like incapable of it. and that kind of feeds off and bounces off Archie, that like now he's also seeing her like world of just not wholesome, not pure, not innocence, and he's becoming like her, and it's like this weird like reverse mirror thing, and it's just so much fun to write.
Yeah.
As long as they
because
don't
Frankie is grinding through people like
Yeah.
throughout the first and second trades. Like Frankie is grinding through relationships in just a horrible way, and it's a great contrast with the stuff that Timmy said about Archie being there for you. Like Frankie is not necessarily there for you.
No,
So-
she's there for herself most of the times. Yeah. And, it was a fellow retailer, my friend Shannon Live of Bat City Comics, who is just a certified Archie fanatic. And I was talking about the crossover with her, and she had this great point where she was like, wow, it's kind of really cool that you have Frankie Folis playtime like with Archie, because they're two characters that are both terrible at relationships. And I was like, huh. Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So two wrongs are going to make a right. Is that what you're implying here?
Maybe
Hope so.
we'll see. We'll see.
Betty,
We'll
Veronica,
see that
not.
issue 4.
I was going to say, we were going all wholesome, and then we were grinding through people in blue packages. I don't know. Anyway,
And that's kind of the crossover in a nutshell, really.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good way to put it.
wholesome murder.
Full circle. I love it. So with everything going in, and I said this when I first saw this book, obviously Archie has crossed over with so many things, and it's been great. So I really feel like you've made it once you've crossed over with Archie. So Minor Threats, obviously, we're all fans. Doing good enough that we are getting the Lord's work of it being with Archie. Now, with that being said, since Minor Threats is taking off and being so great, if there's another opportunity for a crossover, you both, you can do it separately, do it together. You both got to pick what the crossover was. And mind you, the world is your oyster. Whatever you want to pick, licensing is not an issue. Obviously, because we're fantasy booking here. What would you pick? Which franchise would you cross it over with next?
Well, Timmy, you don't want to spoil things, do you?
No.
I hate spoilers, but I love them.
Off the air.
I'm a big believer in the acronym ABS, always be scheming. So there's, whether it's an Archie crossover or a Minor Threats crossover, definitely, I would like to say I will be dubbing myself the crossover kid. There will be more to come, but for Minor Threats crossovers, waving a wand and it being magically possible. The first one that comes to mind, which I know Patton and Jordan would absolutely kill it at, and I would just love to, just dive into this world as well. I'd love to see Frankie and the gang of Twilight City crossover with the Rogues Gallery of the Flash. Just Rogues versus just Playtime and Scalpel, and even throw in some of the alternates characters, and of course Barfly. Like, I think that would be my go-to, or just kind of like Barfly Shit Eater, just like adventures with the DC universe, or even Marvel, really. But it's just
I could see a Suicide Squad. I could see a
Yes.
Suicide Squad kind of thing.
He's
they're
the
pretty
shit eater,
similar, but
like Weasel.
Yeah.
Innocence to him.
Yeah.
Buddy cop.
I was thinking more like Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Blues Brothers.
That
Just
is
the property Blues Brothers? Because they're coming
Yeah.
back. They're going to have like a new movie or something like that. I think, right? I hope I'm not letting that one out of the bag, but
It's
If
Hollywood.
it's not already in progress, I'm sure it is. They're bringing everything back.
yeah, they're bringing
We're all a
everything
sucker
back.
for.
Yeah, Blues Brothers and Minor Threats would be pretty cool, to be honest. That'd be pretty neat. But anything really. Like I wouldn't mind seeing Winnie the Pooh and Minor Threats, to be honest.
Winnie
I
and
could see
Barfly. Oh my God.
Pooh Bear's too innocent, but I guess
No,
Barfly
Tigger,
too.
having Tigger like in the mix, that would be
Nah.
great.
Gopher with Barfly.
I feel like Tigger would accidentally save somebody by just being like hyperactive and accidentally taking down a C-class villain.
And
Exactly.
there's
Absolutely.
and the whole joke of Winnie the Pooh's honey being secretly like a new drug in Twilight City. I think that's just too easy.
It just chills you out.
You see Pooh rocking the Heisenberg hat and the shades.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what Piglet's like arc is.
Are we allowed to swear on this show? Are we allowed to swear?
Yes.
Obviously, also the line of "bitch better have my honey" can also be in the book. We're doing Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, too easy.
Oh, it's right in itself.
No, not the precious Pooh Bear. Okay, so one of the things I thought was interesting about this comic run is Frankie's very dark, but she's dark in every comic run, but there's always turmoil going on in her head.
Yeah.
Like, she's pulled both sides. She's obviously wants her daughter, loves her daughter. And like you mentioned before, it's kind of like, she's between Scalpel and her ex. Like you see that back and forth. But in this, I feel like she really was just full on dark side. We didn't see any light. Was that intentional to showcase the innocence of Archie, or is that just how this specific story is going?
Yeah, it's definitely intentional. And I also really love how when you describe like Frankie with her ex-husband and Scalpel, you're also kind of really describing Archie in a way with Betty and Veronica. Like there's that similarity between the two characters there as well, and like in the DNA. But yeah, like having the book take place right after volume 1, she's full of that emotion. She's, it's that raw energy dealing with it all. And we really, play on the whole like childhood trauma of that connecting to her hatred of magic, and that really seeping through that every time she sees a magician, a magical creature, character, supervillain in Twilight City or Redport, she wants to kill them. And that right there, just versus the wholesomeness of Archie coming into town, it's just such a blast to write.
Yeah. Now, if I can follow up on that, saying that, everything is coming out of volume 1, is this going to affect Minor Threats going forward?
I cannot speak on Jordan Patton's behalf, but they have said there will be ramifications of, for Frankie in future volumes from this. If I was a betting man, I would say definitely stuff with, this TaP character and her origin there. And, maybe TaP has some connections to her mother. And, Frankie in volume 2, as deals with, the death of her mother. So that's something there. And yeah, this character goes through it, Frankie Fullest playtime. It's just nonstop. And, when she has those moments of happiness, those innocent, that sliver of innocence, it comes in, very short doses, when it comes to, being happy with Scalpel and, or being happy with her daughter. Like it's very few and far between. And seeing somebody like Archie who has it all the time is definitely an eye-opening thing for her. And also it's really funny in contrast that like here Archie has this perfect, Americana innocent teenage life. And he's down in the dumps because Betty and Veronica are giving Reggie more attention. And it's the end of his world. Like he's contemplating wanted being the good guy, go out of style. Meanwhile, here's Frankie, like, just going through, just murdered a superhero. A supervillain just tried to murder her, which they had to murder in self-defense. Like, it's just really funny, the contrasting of, problems in their lives.
No, that's incredible. And like I say, this whole series is going to be one everybody's going to be really talking about for, a legendary crossover.
Yes.
And the last question we had lined up is, this is such an unlikely crossover, but what is your personal favorite crossover all time as a fan for both of you? Chat, super chat, you can definitely throw your picks in, but we're going to definitely ask the panel as well.
Yeah. I take writing comic books so serious it's kind of silly. Like when I first started writing for Archie, I wrote I wrote a YA horror story, and my research for that was rereading every Archie horror, diving into Archie like from the 1940s through these like archive collected edition books. Like I love giving myself comic book homework of just seeing these characters and all its history. And so when it was time to do a crossover, and that was, on the agenda for writing, I gave myself the fun homework of reading as many comic book crossovers as possible. Like we're talking Marvel DC famous ones, the obscure forgotten, Marvel DC crossovers, random indie publisher crossovers. Like I digested all of them happily. And gosh, to pick a favorite, like rough, like what a, you know, but like if I absolutely had to pick one, the first one that comes to mind, and maybe this just says so much about my personality, is Lobo the Duck, the amalgam one shot of just Lobo and Howard the Duck is Wad. Like that's the first one that comes to mind. It's just so ridiculous. It's such a hoot. I mean, all those amalgam books are just so great and so fun. But that's probably the first one that comes to mind. And then maybe close second. And we got to make it an Archie. Archie versus Predator rules. Like that book like was a big inspiration for writing this in terms of the contrast of like the horror action meets, you know, the innocence of Archie and Riverdale. But yeah, if you name a crossover, chances are in the last year I read it. I just combo crossovers. Call me the crossover kid, please. Someone call me that.
For me, it's sort of a toss-up between like George Perez's Avengers and JLA and the Teen Titans and X-Men crossover. Well, I read the Teen Titans and X-Men crossover when I was a kid, and I read that thing a million times. And then the JLA Avengers one, they reprinted it recently, so I got to reread it again. And just that impulse to sort of draw everyone and everything like that George had, like I've really been kind of focused on that the past couple years. So like being able to draw all the Archie characters and being able to draw all the Minor Threats characters and the alternates characters and the Barfly and all that stuff, like it's really fun to be able to go like, all right, I've got more boxes that I've checked off, you know, like because I remember George saying like he had that in his head. He was this checklist that he still had in his head about what he wanted to draw, you know, before he went away. So yeah.
Lauren?
So my last question, we actually touched on this a little bit, and I almost
I had your pick. I had your pick. No, your pick for crossover.
Oh, for my crossover.
We're going on everybody.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about more Easter. Okay, so I don't even want to ask that because we already mentioned a bunch of future cameos. My favorite crossover. So I don't know that I've read too many crossovers. I mean, any Predator versus whoever written by Ben Percy is amazing. But because we're doing Archie, I recently read the Jay and Silent Bob one with Archie, which
fun.
Yeah.
It was just fun and absolutely silly because you think Archie's out of place in like Redport. No, he's insanely out of place at Quick Stop. So
That's so cool.
You know, that's fresh in my memory. So I'm just gonna go with that and stay on theme.
Good.
I keep calling it a Archie crossover summer. Like it was really cool that book came out and you know the month before it for us. You know, it was a cool tee off.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tom.
Mine are going to be, I mean, obviously everybody knows like two of my favorite franchises have already crossed over together. Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers.
Nice.
We're talking the first one. Sorry, Ryan, you know I'm going to bag you on the second. He knows exactly why. And then the second one is, and this is going to be more obscure. It's a video game crossover. Ooh. It's Mega Man Street Fighter.
Ooh. Yes.
Wow.
It wasn't made actually as a physical cartridge game. It was an online only from Capcom.
Okay, I thought we were just talking comics, or I definitely would have said Scooby Natural with Supernatural and Scooby Doo. I'd like to change my answer.
You're allowed.
You're allowed.
Okay.
Tom just likes to play fast and loose in the world. So
I should have known.
You should have known.
My next comic release is a crossover, and it is one with a video game property. So I'll tease that. That's
awesome. There's a good tease. I will stay in comic books. I also like a lot of the crossovers, but near and dear to my heart was two of my favorites of my lifetime favorites about child to now, and it was the Batman TMNT crossover. Just because I just never thought I was going to see two of the things that made my childhood come together. So it's always a bright side. A very good one.
Yeah.
It was great.
I agree with Scott. Is JLA Avengers. Like I say, that is like the benchmark. I also have a soft spot for like Deathmate with Image and Valiant, just because of the 90s, you know, like I say, even though it was messy as all could be, but it's still like, it's just that in that time period, Image and Valiant were, you know, rocking and rolling. So that always stands out. And Marvel versus DC, except for 2 fan voted egregious errors they made. Sorry, Lauren, but there's no chance Wolverine beats Lobo, and Captain America definitely beat Batman. I will not hear otherwise.
No.
I don't care. I don't care how much prep time he's got. No, he's not being Cap. No, this will be for another time.
Getting outvoted on this one.
So you are overruled here. Lauren, you have one more question to close us out?
No, I just my last question was really, can we expect any cameos from other characters? But you've already said a bunch, and honestly, I'm big on no spoilers, so I'm going to be happy with the people you've already mentioned. And I do want to say, anybody who is not familiar with this universe and feels overwhelmed, it doesn't matter. This comic catches you up right away. You will fall in love so quick that you'll want to go back and read everything. But you guys, you literally mentioned my 3 favorite characters, which is Shit Eater, Crab Louie, and Marie the Multi-Monster. So, and her dating life is hilariously sad. And yeah, all the alternates is slept on. I would say of all the runs, the alternates is slept on. So, so don't answer my last question.
No, fair enough. But I would say, gentlemen, tomorrow you guys have a big hit on your hands, and we can't stress enough here at Nerd Initiative. Archie versus Minor Threats might not be the crossover you were expecting, but it's the one that you cannot afford to miss on New Comic Book Day. It has got so many elements that remind you of why you love comics. The imagination is there. The story is great. The art is going to blow you away. In fact, Rich, I was going to say, do you mind showing the covers for this? Because the cover work, especially Scott's, is in the middle there too. And how detailed and layered that is with the cameos. Like, that's the one I'm going to be searching out for tomorrow. But all of these definitely need to be in your pull list, and you need to go make sure you get this series, because this is going to be something that is truly a comic event that you don't want to be saying you missed. And gentlemen, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show after the series is wrapped up. We definitely have to have you come back on and recap.
Yeah, thanks.
Please, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And if you were looking for more comic reviews, Nerd Initiative has you covered starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And even a little spoiler, the review for Archie versus Minor Threats by Lauren will be out at 9:05 Eastern Standard Time on nerdinitiative.com. So you want to make sure you check that out. And then at noon, it goes to the videos on YouTube. So nobody is doing New Comic Book Day like Nerd Initiative. So once again, thank you to Timmy and Scott for coming through on the show. And on behalf of Rich, Tom, and Lauren for coming through, we just want to say thank you for checking out another edition of Turn a Page, and we'll end it like we always do. When you're at the comic shop and you have a great issue in your hands, such as Archie versus Minor Threats by Dark Horse and Archie, and you see somebody struggling to find something, grab them a copy, hand it off to them, tell them to turn a page. We'll see you next time. I'm out.
This program is powered by Fantasyverse, where manga, comics, and more collide. Check their website out, because it's not a dream. It's Fantasyverse. The content you've just watched is part of the Nerd Initiative Network. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to check out nerdinitiative.com, the home of pop culture positivity.